but just kind of releasing the pelvis in a forward or anterior tilt, so towards the sits bones, and then curl the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Good, posterior tilt, until your sits bones kind of lift, not your sacrum, but just your tailbone lifts away from the floor. Good, and then breathing in, so it's like a release or a cow pose where you arch the back. Good, and then exhale where you're kind of almost flattening the back. You're pressing that lower back gently towards the floor, but by tilting the tailbone up and then releasing tailbone down. So you shift the pelvis towards the sits bones and then away from the sits bones. Good, and you'll notice your kind of, your neck or head responds accordingly. Right, so as you arch the back, anterior tilt, the chin drops towards the chest. Posterior tilt, the brain falls back. So you're not really doing anything with your head, just kind of noticing the natural movement of the spine. Good, as you articulate the very base of the spine. So again, working with kind of stretching the inner groins down towards the floor. And then as you scoop the tailbone up, draw the navel, draw the lower ribs in towards the body. There's a little tiny tightening of the glutes. Good, 2 more times, breathing in. Good, breathing out. Breathing in. Nice. And it might be a really, really subtle movement, right? It doesn't have to be big. So tip the pelvis back, hold, and we're going to press into the heels and just lift the hips away from the floor a little bit, and then lower the hips back down to the ground. Good, relax. Step into the heels, inhale, scoop the tailbone up, tip the pelvis back, exhale, press up. So activating the hamstrings and the glutes, release down. And then I'm just coming into that initial anterior tilt. Exhale, tilt the pelvis back. Good, and press into the step into the heels and lift. So we're not coming up super high. Lower down, 2 more times. Inhale. So exhale, release. Inhale, tilt the pelvis back. Exhale, step into the heels, apply the effort. Outer thighs pressing to inner thighs. Good, we're just activating the grounding action of the legs. Inhale. Good, exhale. And gently release. Good. So now that we're sacrum down on the floor, a little engagement of the abdomen, draw the rib cage into the body. Let's bring the right knee into the chest here. So we'll just start, you see a little bit of flexion here in this right hip. Good. And Gitsi, if it feels more appropriate to do so, start with your left leg. So you're working with the leg that feels better, then shift to the other leg. So you have a little bit of comparison. So again, we'll just start with one leg, circle out the ankle, first in one direction, then the other. Good. And I'm just kind of pressing my shin bone up into my hands a little bit, and you can kind of feel the musculature in the lower leg because of the action in the ankle. Good. And now sort of just, I'm going to keep the toes either pointed, you can also flex, but very gently press the shin bone. So my hands are interlaced right at the head of the shin. I'm going to push the shin bone up into the hands and exhale the navel and the ribs down towards the floor. So you're going to feel your back pressing down, your shin pressing up. Good. And the key is to not use the head, neck, and shoulders. We're going to get the brain fall back here, shin presses up. So it kind of rounds my upper back a little bit, but I'm not using my shoulders. Good. And we're going to take one more deep breath in, sustaining this is an isometric action, sustaining the action of leg pressing into hands and abdomen drawing into the body. And gently release. Good. Lower that leg to the floor, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So isometric contraction. So I'm going to bring the knee into the chest, slide the interlace of the fingers up the shin, circle out the ankle a few times. So just noticing some of the movement of the lower musculature of the lower legs under the heel of the hand. Reverse the roll. Beautiful. Point the toes or flex, right? Whatever feels most appropriate to you. And I'm going to push the shin up into the hands. Good. And then tip the pelvis back. So the other thigh, this leg that's on the floor, is make sure it's not dialing, it's not falling out to the side. Dialing in, pressing in a little bit towards the midline. So shin pressing up, abdomen pressing down. Relax the shoulders, let the brain fall to the back of the head. So soft gaze. The inner gaze is focused on the action. You might start to feel a little bit of action here in the hip, right? Abdomen. Good. You might even press into that right foot a little bit to sustain the action in the abdomen. One more breath. So keep the action, sustain the action, and breathe through it. And gently release. Good. Lower that left foot or other foot to the floor. Nice. Take a deep breath in. We're going to bring that right knee. So here's an option. I like this option. I'm going to roll my blanket or fold it and just place a little bit of elevation. Doesn't have to be a whole amount, right? But a little bit more height right under the base of the spine, the sacrum, so that it's a little easier to tilt the pelvis back. I'm going to slide my rib cage back a little bit and get a little bit of broadening across the lumbar lower spine, right? So kind of creating some space around the kidneys. So like a hammock for the kidneys. And then let's bring both feet up away from the floor. So again, try not to use your back. Tilt the pelvis back, engage the abdomen, lift the heels of the feet away from the floor, and then lift the toes. And we're going to stack the knees right over the hips. This is really lovely for sacral stabilization. And a nice way to kind of gauge is to just extend your arms towards your knees or thighs, right, just above the knee joint. Heel of the hand to the legs, and you can push the legs into the hands and the hands into the legs. And then exhale the navel and the rib cage down. So relax the shoulders, but your shoulders, your upper back are broadening, right? Broadening across the upper back. Good. Keep the collarbones wide. Take a deep breath in. Shin bones as parallel to the floor as possible, to the ceiling as possible. Good. Exhale. Good. And we're just going to start by taking the right leg out and extend through the right hip. Doesn't have to come all the way down. That right arm can come to the ceiling. And then back. Good. Exhale, extend. So the other leg, we're just alternating legs and come back. So I don't want the legs to come all the way into the chest. I really want to activate the lower abdomen so we can stabilize the lower back. Sacral stabilization. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale slow enough that you're not ballistic, right? So we're not doing this like cycling, just really slow motion. Exhale, navel to spine. I'm tipping my pelvis back as I extend the leg. You should be feeling the hamstrings working here to extend, to open the hip. Good. Extend. Inhale, back in. Exhale, tip the pelvis back. You're going to start to feel the abdomen here a little bit. And just notice the opening of the hip, right? And then drawing into the abdomen to support the leg coming back in. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So the arm of the leg that extends is going up to the ceiling. Good. I kind of lost count, so we'll do 3 more each side. 3. 2. So we're sustaining the activity in the abdomen. Keep with the breath. 1. Beautiful. And bring the legs, both legs into the chest. Good. Rock from side to side. So now I'm right on the tippy tip edge of the sacrum, the pelvis tipping back a little bit here. Good. And I'd like to do, we'll do one more thing here with the legs. Lower the feet all the way to the floor. Good. And we'll just start by taking, again, start with whatever leg you started with. We'll start to bring that leg into the chest. Good. And then extend from the, just open up the knee to about 90 degrees. So I'm going to take my hands, interlace the fingers behind that thigh and press the thigh towards the chest so the knee is directed towards the shoulder. Good. And you're going to kind of push this foot, ball of the foot up towards the ceiling. Good. And just again, you want to not compress the hip, but just kind of gently press the thigh to the chest. Again, you're going to feel the pelvis tipping back a little bit. Really nice for bringing some length, some release into the back muscles. Good. And now we're going to externally rotate this right leg. So I'm going to release a little bit, externally rotate. So the toes turn out, as does the knee. The knee and the toes have to turn together in order to really isolate the action at the hip. And then you have the option of just taking the same hand as the leg and bringing the leg to the outside of the rib cage. If you are able to, you take the arm to the inside of the leg because the leg is now rotating open, and then to the outside of the foot. And I'm going to bend my elbow and press my right thigh to the outside of the rib cage. So half happy baby. Notice this left leg. It may tend to splay over to the left. We're just going to keep it as it is for right now. So stay with a half happy baby, right side. Now start to open up this left or other leg into half bound angle. Good. This creates opening through the pelvis. Take a deep breath in. Really important to get the pelvis to tip back, which is why I have a little bit of height under the sacrum. Good. Exhale. Bring the lower leg back in or up to the vertical. Good. And just open and close a few times. So we're going to feel the rotation through the left leg. It's going to start to probably bring a little bit of a tug into the inner thigh, the adductor muscles. Good. And we're going to bring the leg that the foot's on the floor, the leg comes back up, and now extend the leg out towards the top of your mat or the back of your mat, extending that leg to your degree. So the knee might be slightly bent. I'm actually stretching out with the Achilles tendon, keeping this other leg in my half happy baby pose. Good. So it's like a wide dragon pose on your back. And so the other leg extends, as does the arm. I'm taking the leg out towards the top of the mat or back of the mat. There's a little extension in the spine here. You're going to let the pelvis tip forward. Good, to get the extension in the leg, but I'm not letting the rib cage, I'm not pulling on the kidneys by popping the diaphragm. So the diaphragm drops. Good. The leg might, again, you might have the knee slightly bent. You're going to start to feel that stretch through the front of the hip as you reach out through the heel of the extended leg, Achilles lengthening. Good. The abdomen and the rib cage gently retracting a little bit, dropping down. Beautiful. Let's take a couple of breaths. Just notice the stretch. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more breath. This is like our lunge, so we're getting a really deep hip extension, but again, inviting the action. We have to consciously engage the abdomen here. Because we're lying on our back, you don't have to. Step the straight leg back in, and now bring this leg that was in half happy baby into figure 4. Right, so still staying with the external rotation. Now bring both legs into the chest. Really lovely. Take a deep breath in. Good. Exhale. Tip the pelvis back. So again, I'm kind of right on the edge of my blanket here, so that it allows the pelvis to really tip back a little bit. You can kind of release with the in-breath and then tip back with the out-breath. Release, inhale, and exhale. And one more time. Breathe in, release. A little bit of what we were doing in the beginning, right? Anterior tilt, posterior tilt. Now hold. I'm taking the hands to the top of the shin, but you can also take them behind the knee if that feels more appropriate. And see if you can just stay with the stretch in that right iliopsoas hip. It's kind of more iliacus, more like just stretching the inner right hip a little bit, because the lower back is, we're still getting a little bit of a stretch in that lower back, but the hip is flexed. Good. We'll take a nice deep breath in, and then with the exhalation, lower the left foot to lower the foot to the floor. We're going to keep the right leg where it is, the top leg where it is, and then very gently tip towards the foot that is grounding. That leg is going to tip open into like a half bound angle, and I'm going to let the pelvis go with it. Good. All the way down to the floor. If you need to, you're going to put a block or a cushion under that lower leg or outer thigh, if the foot doesn't come all the way down, if the leg doesn't come all the way down to the floor. So again, right, you might not have a ton of opening in the hip. It may stop here, and so now you're going to pull the whole, you're going to draw the whole pelvis with you as the leg comes down towards the ground or a cushion. And then I'm just going to hold on to that top leg, right, with the lower arm, and then see if you can press that top thigh away from you. And I'm going to open up through the torso, drop the rib cage first, release or drop the ribs, and then rotate. You got to drop the rib cage to find the rotational, right, action in the abdomen, the oblique muscles, which help with, again, the twisting poses. And again, here, now you're going to get a little bit more opening through that top hip, and scoop the lower belly, drop the lower ribs, and scoop out the posterior, the back of your pelvis. Good. Almost like that concave surface, inner concave surface of a spoon, right? You're scooping out the back of the pelvis, breathing in, breathing out, and one more deep breath in. Exhale. Engage the abdomen, release into the twist, and all we're going to do is step the right foot back to, or the top foot, outer foot to the floor, bringing the other leg with you, and just find that anchoring, that ground, that interoceptive, right, quality of the mind, where you bring an awareness, right, to the points of contact of your body with the floor. Lovely. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, full breath out. Let's do this on the other side. So start by bringing that left knee first towards the left shoulder, or other knee towards the shoulder, depending on which leg you started with. And then we're going to unfurl the knee to about 90 degrees, pressing the ball of the foot up towards the ceiling. Good. So I'm not pushing the heel, I'm pushing the ball of the foot a little bit. Not all the way, right? So it's like a 2-inch heel, maybe a 1-inch heel. And then we're going to take the knee and the toes, right? You want to dial them out. So you want the external rotation through the hip. And then I'm going to bring the leg down to the outside of the rib cage. Good. Half happy baby, other side. Take the arm to the inside of the leg, because you have external rotation now. And then the hand to the outside of the foot or the ankle. And you're going to press the knee down towards the outside of the chest. So we're coming into, again, to your degree, right? There should be no pinching, just articulation of the hip, right? What is that expression? Motion is lotion for the hip, for the joints, right? So we want movement, a little bit of external rotation, and then flexion. Take a deep breath in. So once you have your happy baby pose, good. Gently release. That other foot is going to start to roll to the outside edge. Mine naturally stops because I have something to support it, like block or yoga wheel, and then bring the leg back in. All we're doing is externally rotating the lower leg, half bound angle-ish, and then I'm rolling back to the sole side of the foot, internal rotation. Try to keep the sacrum, the back of the pelvis, grounded. One more time. Exhale out. Relax the hips. Draw into the abdomen. Inhale, bring the leg back up. And now slowly begin to extend that lower leg out towards the front of your mat. It tends to pull everything with. So we're going to try to hold on to the foot or the ankle of the leg that's in half happy baby. And again, you might have the leg slightly bent. We're starting to feel the extension in the hip. Let the pelvis tip a little bit so you get that extension. Good. We'll just slide in, breathe in, exhale out. Let the pelvis tip, but draw into the abdomen. So engaging the abdomen is what's going to give you that stretch, that opening in the hip joint. Inhale up. Exhale, I'm sliding out through the heel, and then I'm going to stay, drawing into the abdomen. Drop the lower ribs, the floating ribs. Good. And see if you can really pull up on the knee, even if it means the leg kind of floating up away from the floor a little bit. Good. See if you can embed that right knee. You're not standing on it, so there's no risk of hyperextension here. It's extending that straight leg so that you can really start to feel the traction in the hip joint. You might start to feel this a little bit across the hip, maybe even in the lower back as you access the psoas part of the muscle. Take a deep breath in. The iliopsoas it crosses multiple joints, right? The hip and the base of the spine, the lower lumbar vertebra. So polyarticular muscle, but it's a hip flexor. Flexing the hip means you're bringing the leg in. Hip extension means you're extending the leg out. One more deep breath in. Beautiful. Exhale. Slide that straight leg in so the foot comes flat to the floor, and we're just going to very gently bring the leg that was in half happy baby across and over into figure 4 position, resting outer heel on the top of the thigh. Breathe in. Good. Exhale. Draw the navel and the lower ribs track in and down so you can feel the tipping back of the pelvis, and that allows the abdomen to draw the legs in. And again, you can reach through the window of that bent leg, the leg in figure 4, and gently draw the right or other thigh towards the chest. Inhale, release a little. Exhale. So we're giving the hips some space as you breathe in. I'm just pressing the heel of the outer hand, good, to the inner thigh above the knee. That gives the hips some space. You're going to feel that in the lower back a little bit. Exhale. Good. Iliopsoas stretch here, right? This is the stretching of the iliopsoas, as long as you're not letting the pelvis tip forward. Exhale, now bring it back in. It starts to stretch the external rotators of the hips as you bring the leg in. Good. One more time. Deep breath in. Exhale, and this time we're just going to hold for a few breaths. And again, you're not forcing, straining, striving. Breathing in, just allowing the pelvis to tip back a little bit. Exhale, engage the abdomen. Let the brain fall to the back of the head. One more breath. Beautiful. Exhale. Good. Lower that right foot to the floor. I'm going to angle this a little bit so I have some space. And then we're going to very gently, the foot that's on the floor is going to roll. You're going to roll to the outside edge of the foot. So keep some stability in the ankle here, right? So it's foot eversion as I tip the leg towards the ground. And again, you might notice, okay, that's where my hip stops. So now, as the leg continues to come to the ground, you're going to let the pelvis come up with it. So you're tipping the pelvis. So there just happens to be a block underneath the left foot, if you want to, right? I can have my foot on a block, that really helps. Otherwise, bring the foot all the way down to the floor. Make sure the leg doesn't start to collapse in. Gently press that top leg away from you. Here's your iliopsoas stretch, right? Think of the inside edge of this outer line. So inner lumbar spine, back of the pelvis, inner thigh, top thigh. Good. Take a deep breath in, and with the exhalation, draw those lower ribs in a little bit towards the midline and then down. Then you can find rotation. Good. Take a deep breath in. It might take some time to get there, but you're going to really start to feel that stretch. Good. And again, more of a dull ache, no pinching. Breathe in. Breathe out. Good. Breathe in. Breathe out. Take one more deep breath in. Exhale. Step the top foot down towards your mat again, and then just kind of roll the other foot back up. Find some stability under the sacrum. Good. Shake it out a little bit. Good. And we're going to bring both knees back into the chest. So lift the heels away from the floor. Lift up onto your toes. Tip the pelvis back, right? And then draw the knees into the chest. Good. So this is Upanasan, known as wind relieving pose, but it's kind of like a child's pose on your back, right? Because I have some elevation under the hips, so the legs are coming in towards me. Now, as you take your arms, elbows to outer knees, I want to keep the feet, the inside inseams of the feet together, but I'm gonna let the knees fall open into my arms, into my elbows. So you can have the fingers interlaced or just hold on to the shins. And now you're gonna rock from side to side. So I'm actually just like, if I have my elbows, my fingers interlaced with my knees resting in my elbows, I can tip all the way to the elbow. The elbow braces my body, so I'm not coming all the way down to the floor. I'm going to come back and roll to the other side. Elbow to elbow. So you're kind of rolling across the lower back. And again, you can also just hold on to the shin bones. The elbow is going to come down to the floor a little sooner if you do that, which is fine. Good. And come back to center after you've done a nice even number of rock and rolls. Good. And you can use your feet to bring you up to an upright position. So I'm going to pull with the ball of my foot, magnetize the ball of the foot to the back of the mat. Good. Exhale and bring myself up to an upright position. Yeah, watch out for the blanket. And come to just a little seated position, or you can walk the feet in a little bit closer. So just wherever you need to. As the feet come a little further out, the knees may have less support. So if you're working with any knee stuff, right, I like to just place the corner of the block, any height under that outer knee. Just make sure the block isn't going to slide out from underneath you. Good. So what we'll do here is we're just going to just roll the pelvis. So now you've got this posterior tilt, right? We're going to come side to side, anterior tilt, and then other side. So you're going to get that psoas stretch as you kind of come to the side, right? Posterior tilt, anterior tilt. Another option, rather than just the circular, is to tip the pelvis forward, inner thigh stretch, good, and then a release. Nice lower back stretch. Inhale, here's your cow pose. Try not to pop the rib cage, right? You're not cranking into the back. You're really rotating the pelvis, right? You're articulating the sacroiliac joints. Sacrum in the pelvis. Good. So circular movement kind of gets into your lower back, iliopsoas a little bit more effectively. If you're rolling, let's reverse the direction of the roll. Yeah. Just kind of feeling into that. You can also hold the hips, right? That works as well really nicely. Good. We may not make it to standing today. We'll see. Good. Exhale. And then coming back to center, inhale to an upright position. And then what I'm going to have us do is just start with a little twist here. So you're going to take that left leg and bring it so that right foot's going to come in a little bit more. Again, a little eversion in the foot where the sole side of the ball of the foot rolls towards the ceiling, the ankle's supported, and then my left hip comes down to the floor. So I want both sits bones at the same elevation. If it's too much to have the leg across, just bring the leg in alignment with the hip. That works as well, right? So this is Marichayasan position, version, Bharadvajasan. Good. And I'm just going to take that left hand behind me and use the hand pressing down to find that lift in the torso, right? I'll angle this a little bit so you can see. Good. So just make sure toes and head of the shin are pointing in the same direction. So you're not, there's no torque of the knee, right? Take a deep breath in. The wildcats today. Exhale, draw the navel and the lower ribs back into the body. So I'm going to just tip the pelvis back a little bit to find that rotation. And then inhale. See if you can very gently lift the inner spine. Take a deep breath in. So I'm going to tip the pelvis onto the sits bones and find rotation. If you'd like to turn the head, so I've started adding just eyes, the ocular muscles, right? So you can either counter turn the head, look over that right shoulder, or look over the left shoulder, continue the rotation. Whatever feels most appropriate for your neck, right? This is again a little stretch for the lower back, outer hip. And as you look over the either shoulder, you're going to take the eyes and continue the gaze. So if you're looking over that left shoulder, you're going to gaze out the far left corners of your eyes and just breathe. Take a breath. Draw the navel to the spine. Exhale, meet yourself in the twist. If you're looking over the right shoulder, you can look out the right corners of your eyes. One more breath. This is to tap into the vagus nerve. So parasympathetic nervous system, relaxation response. Relax the eyes. Inhale. Good. And come out of your twist. Exhale. Really nice. So from here, from Bharadvajasana, good, or version of Marityasana, we're just going to take the leg and cross it in front and slide the other leg out. So now we're in Svastikasana. Yeah. Same thing. You can work with your block underneath the knee, right? Whatever height feels appropriate to you. And we're going to come into a little forward bend. Good. Breathing in. I'm taking my thumbs to sort of, you can feel your, if you lift your knees, you can feel the hip flexors, right? So you're going to take your thumbs to the inside and you're going to roll. You're going to gently press down on those hip flexors. See if you can kind of get right in there. Let the thighs roll open. Draw the elbows back to get that broadening in the chest and tip forward. Then maybe you can use your hands in front of you, right, to support that forward bend. Breathe in. Exhale. Navel, lower ribs draw back. Good. Breathe in. Navel, lower ribs draw back. And maybe there's a little bit more release in the hips so the forearms can come towards the floor. Good. So just feeling into wherever you're at, right? Arms extended, elbows on a block or the ground. Inhale, billow the back a little bit. Exhale, take the heart forward, keep the head above the heart. We're going to do this one more time. Billow the back. Press those outer heels down into the floor a little bit. Find that billowing of the back. Exhale and soften. Walk the hands back in. Inhale. Good. Exhale. Now this time we're going to keep that left leg where it is and take the right leg into hero's pose. So we're just playing around a little bit on the floor. So hero's pose, this foot's going to come to the outside of the hip. Nice. And then the knee comes out a little bit more. Nice. So you may find yourself tipping a little bit towards this left leg. That's fine, right? And then again, this foot is folded back around the hip, right? So the foot's tucked in, nice and tight. And then see if you can dial this leg open. I'm rotating inner thigh up and dropping that right sitting bone. Good. Take a deep breath in, lift the heart. Nice. Exhale, and we're going to take a little rotation towards the leg that's folded back. Exhale. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale. Find that rotation. See if I'm kind of pulling, you can kind of pull up on the leg a little bit. This will help to rock the pelvis back a tiny bit. And then just kind of find that extension, lift and lengthen. This is just a little counter pose. And then gently release. Really nice. From here, slide that left foot out and we're going to take this leg behind us. So you might keep this foot folded in to protect the knee as we begin, and then slide this back leg out and internally rotate. So I'm tucking the ball. I want to get onto the ball of the foot, rotate the hip forward. Good. And then dial that left hip back as I extend my right leg. So hip extension. I'm on my forearms here, but you might be on your hands if that feels more appropriate. You can also put a block underneath this outer, the sitting bone, left sitting bone. And then my back leg extends, and I'm going to stretch back through the heel to get that. I want to come back into the hip away from this knee. Then you can come back out over the leg. I'm going to keep the back toes flexed to begin with and just roll towards that left hip and then roll away from it. Watch the knee here, just to get a little bit of movement. Again, if it feels too much, if it feels like you're compressing the hip, take the hands in and point the fingers out to protect the shoulders. And all I'm doing is rolling from the hip, right, one hip to the other hip. I'm rocking a little bit from side to side. Watch that back knee. I'm keeping the toes flexed to really extend the back leg. Beautiful. Very nice. And then come into stillness. There's a lot to be seen in stillness, right? To be felt. Ground your hands or your elbows. Extend your back leg. And then inhale. The pelvis tips a little forward. The heart can lift. If you're coming forward over the leg, right, you can extend or walk the hands or the elbows out a little bit. Good. Take a couple of breaths in stillness. Just notice the sensation in that left hip. Maybe you can release that back leg. So you can really make sure the back leg is dialing in. Toes are, top of the foot is to the floor. Sole side of the foot to the sky. Good. Breathing in, billow the back a little bit. Exhale, engage the abdomen. Soften into that left hip. And we're going to take a couple more breaths. In this way, pressing into the forearms, the hands, right? If you're in an upright position, this is more the namesake of pigeon pose. Eka Pada Rajakapatasana, with the front leg in a half bounding angle position as opposed to a lunge position, which is another option. Exhale. Good. And inhale. Navel to spine. Exhale. Very lovely. From here, let's roll over onto that left hip. And we're just going to take that back leg a little forward, line it up with the hip, and then rotate the toes up towards the sky. So now that right leg, good, is extended. Good. And the left leg is going to come into sort of a more of a half bound angle pose. Good. Heel comes to sort of center pelvis. Nice. And then let's rotate towards that straight leg. We're going to come into Janushirshasana, head of the knee pose. So again, tip towards your left hip for a moment and just loosen up that right leg. Just see if you can find some space. I'm kind of taking the rim of the pelvis, like you're pulling on your pants, right? And you're trying to lift the pant leg a little bit, right? I'm going to take the rim of the pelvis and pull up on it, and at the same time reach out with my leg. Try to create some space there in the hip, and then just rotate just a little bit. Just waggle the leg. Good. Make sure the action comes all the way from the hip. Nice. And then you're going to slide the leg out and come back up to an upright position and rotate towards the thigh. Nice. Now we're going to tip towards that right hip and bring the left leg up. Good. This allows us to get the full rotational capacity, right? This is more of a Marichiyasana position, but we're going to bring that opposite hand to foot or ankle. Good. Take a deep breath in. Lift the heart. I'm using that right hand for support. Exhale, navel, lower ribs pull in, and I'm going to rotate towards the straight leg. Then that left leg is going to go back out again. So you're going to feel a little bit of traction through that left hip, lower back maybe, inner thigh. Good. And you can just stay right here, right? This is where having a little bit of a strap across the ball of the foot might be really helpful. So you can still hinge a little forward, keep the extension in that right leg, left arm, right? Take a deep breath in. The key here is rotation of the torso. Good. In order to get that length in the lower back. So opening up that left hip, extending that right leg. So again, we're not straining or forcing this posture. If you feel like coming out over the leg, make sure this hip is starting to release. Head of the knee speaks to that left leg. Take a deep breath in. Beautiful. Find that rotation with the exhalation of the breath. Relax the shoulders. And then inhale to come back up. Really nice. Good. Exhale. Bring that right leg back in. Good. Nice. And rotate. Little tipping forward, side, back, side of the pelvis. Notice the hips. Good. If you would prefer to, you can do this lying down, right? And do the same thing, hands on knees, and just rotate around the sacrum. Just a really nice way, right, to support that lower back. Very nice. Good. If you haven't, pause and reverse the direction of your roll. Good, and come back to center. Again, sit up nice and tall. We're going to take that left foot to the floor this time. Good. And then I'm going to take this right foot, bring it in. Left foot, sorry, other side. We already did that side. Right foot folds in, right? Left foot can either stay aligned with the hip. I'm just pulling it in towards the shin. Good, or take the foot across the body. But again, the head of the shin, right, is pointing in the same direction as the toes. So you don't want the toes turned out and the head of the shin bone pointing this way. Good. Take a deep breath in. So I'm going to bring my elbow or a hand to the head of the shin. Right hand comes behind. Inhale to lift. Exhale to rotate the torso. To rotate, you got to bring the rib cage in, right? We got to pull it in without hunching the shoulders. Good. And take the elbow around or to the outside of the knee. Inhale. Exhale. Drop the rib cage to find that rotation. And then inhale to lift. This is where you're going to get that stretch in the outer right hip. Take a deep breath in. And again, you have an option of looking back over the right shoulder or releasing the neck and looking over the left shoulder. Watch the tendency for the left shoulder to kind of pull into the twist. Inhale. Exhale. Now gaze out the far right corners of your eyes. And we'll take a few breaths. Navel to spine on the exhale. Breathe in. Remember, the breath is going to be a little bit more restricted in a twist. So strengthening the muscles of the breath. Muscles of the breath. And come back, release the eyes, release the head, release the twist. Very nice. Good. And then from here, we're just going to take that foot, good, back into this normal position here, right? And then let's take this leg open. Nice. I know I did something else in between, but we'll go into this other version of Baddha Vajrasan, where we're going to take that left leg and fold it back, wrapping that left foot to the outside of the left hip. Nice. Good. And then this right foot comes in a little bit. And we're going to take a little counter rotation. So right hand to the outside of the left leg. Inhale, lift the heart, but retract the rib cage and find a little counter rotation. Just one breath here. Breathe in. Good. Exhale. Come back to center. Really nice. Oh, that's what it was. Svastikasana. Gently, I knew my body would tell me what I needed. Good. So this time we're going to make sure that the right foot is in front of left, resting on the outside edges of your feet. Slide the hands back down the inner thighs towards the hips. Lift your knees a little bit to feel those hip flexors. They're like rubber bands, tight rubber bands. And you're just going to take your thumb to the inside. And you might even feel some sensitivity there, right? And then see if you can press down and roll the thighs open. Inhale, lift the heart. The hands, the heel of the hand can maybe press down to support that release in the hips and tip forward, exhaling the torso forward. Beautiful. Breathe in. Nice. Exhale. Right. Angling the pelvis away from the floor behind you. Hands to the floor. Again, work with some elevation. Breathe into the back. Billow the back a little bit. Tip the pelvis forward. Exhale. Right, make sure you're feeling this in sort of outer hips, maybe inner thighs even, but not the knees. Inhale, tip the pelvis back a little bit. Exhale, tip the pelvis forward towards the sits bones. You want to be on the sits bones to bring the hands or the elbows forward. Good, nice little stretch for that lower back. Maybe the hands are a little further out or up. Breathe in. Good, draw the abdomen, the navel towards the spine. Good, and that's what allows your back to stretch, getting into the hips. One more breath. Good, exhale. And then inhale, gently walk the hands back up. Good. And then from here, nice, we're gonna take that right leg forward, and I did this already, so we're just gonna start to slide that left leg back, coming into our pigeon. So as I extend that left leg out behind me, I wanna come to the ball of the foot, right? Ball of the foot, dial onto the big toe. So again, as you dial the heel up towards the ceiling, you got to get that internal rotation of that back leg. Good. And then I'm going to bring the hands forward, and you can roll right from one hip to the other. So you might even come onto your hands a little bit, over onto that right hip, pick up the pelvis, and over towards that left hip. Good, and then see if you can just keep the extension of the back leg, keep dialing that back thigh in. Good, rotate or dial the right hip back, and maybe come out over this leg, or stay in your pigeon pose. This can feel really good too. Really nice extension here through the hip. And so we're gonna do this in just a moment in our last pose again on this side. Janu Shirshasana, but we wanna find that, here's that hip extension. The front leg is in your, almost like a half happy baby pose, right? Or figure 4 position. Breathe in. Exhale. And then if you want to relax the back leg for a moment, just relax the back leg so you get that hip extension. Right? I'm coming up to get the hip extension. Turning the fingers out is really nice to really kind of feel this drawstring action of the back of the upper arm where it meets with the torso. Right, I think of a drawstring in the back of the armpit pulling down so my heart can go up. And then from here, take a breath. Draw the navel to the spine. Exhale, and as you do so, tip over towards that hip of front leg. Bring that back leg in a little bit. Good. And then you can stretch the leg out, but bring it to about the level of the hip, and we're going to dial the toes up towards the ceiling to bring that left hip to the floor, and maybe the right knee comes up as both hips ground. Good, the right foot comes into Janu Shirshasana position, so head of the knee pose. I'm bringing the foot towards the center of the pelvis. Good, and again, opening up through the hips, so if you need to, put a little something underneath that knee. Good, as we rotate towards the left leg, so I'm gonna find that lift, that rotation, bring that knee up, right knee up, so I can roll. In order to pivot on this left hip, right, I need to be able to tip onto the hip. Good, and let this right hip slide back, right? So I want this hip the sitting bone to slide back. It's off the floor, but if I can slide the hip back, I can find that length in the leg, right? And then bring the leg back down for a moment. Good, and then we're gonna lift that, this is the front hip bone, right? We're gonna sort of pull up on that front hip bone. Good, and stretch that left leg out and find some space in the hip. Let the leg down, relax the leg a little bit, and see if you can find a little bit of rotational movement in the hip. Again, just kind of waggling it back and forth, nice. Stretch it out, come back up to an upright position. We're gonna tip back onto that left sitting bone. Keep the right hip going back, but feel the twist. So the right hip is going back, but I'm going to rotate the torso towards the straight leg. This allows you to pivot on the hip joint, right? Janu Shirshasana is a really challenging, I think, position to set up. And then when you're ready, this is where you find the Iliosoa stretch on that right side, right? Again, it's on the inside of the body, but very posterior. So you're going to feel this in the back. And we let that right thigh fall open. Good. And I'm going to let that bring my torso with it. Keep building that rotation towards the straight leg. You might be holding onto the foot, the shin, just feeling into that rotation. If you want a little bit more stretch, you're going to come into a little forward bend. So breathing in, Exhale, 2 more breaths. Engage the abdomen in any forward bend, any degree of forward bend. Come back up to an upright position, inhale. Draw the navel to the spine, exhale. Good. And then very gently release that right leg. Shake out the legs. Good. We're going to bring the legs up the wall just to finish or complete our practice this morning. So you might want to have your blanket handy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you stay for as long as you need to here, because this really brings us to the end of our practice. Just to kind of let the lymph fluid nurture the hips. So I'm bringing a rolled up blanket parallel to the wall, and there's a little bit of a space, like a block space, right, between the wall and the blanket, right? Because my sits bones are going to fall into that valley between the blanket and the wall. So I'm going to have a little bit of an arch to my lower back, so a little heart opener. So this is the challenging part, is you might have to take the blanket out and then put it in afterwards. But I just bring my hips, I'm going to turn away from the wall, bring my hip onto the very side, right? The side of the blanket, the very edge of the blanket. I'm going to take my arm, shoulder to the floor, and roll up. And this is usually the hardest part about getting into this pose. Good. Use a strap across those around, right? The outer thighs. Let the thighs roll open, and this just kind of giving the legs a little bit of breadth or distance allows the pelvis to breathe a little bit. And we're going to bring the arms into Durgasana position, goddess pose position. So bent at 90 degrees, elbows just below the shoulder height, fingers stretching to the sky, and then rotate the arms open so the palms, the hands release to the floor, palms face up towards the ceiling. Good, and just breathe. So you should feel like a little opening in the chest here, support for the sacrum, release in the groins, right? This is the key. The thighs are just dropping into the hip socket, and some lymphatic drainage, just releasing the lymph fluid. Good. Lymph tends to circulate because of movement and gravity. So when we're standing, our lymph very easily kind of pools right towards the feet. So these kinds of inversions, relaxed inversions, Viparita means to go against the grain of gravity, right? Invites our lymph now to flow in the direction of the heart, or the lymph nodes. Take a deep breath in, the blood to flow towards the heart, which it does anyway, right? But we can do, this is a more relaxed, passive flow, vascular flow towards the heart. Breathe in. And breathe out. Close the eyes, settle the body. So start by just noticing the body, the points of contact with surface, with solidity. The heels of your feet, maybe the sits bones against the wall, sacrum on the blanket. Shoulder blades, heart against the earth, your mat. Arms, backs of hands resting, head supported by the earth. And everything else softening, all the spaces around and in between. And if you'd like to just kind of slide your feet down the wall, taking a reclined version, Supta of Baddha Konasana, of your bound angle pose. Not really bound because the feet tend to slide apart. You're going to feel that stretch in the inner thighs, if that feels appropriate to your hips, right? Otherwise, just slide the feet down the wall and let the thighs, feet can rest lightly on the wall, thighs sort of rest or release towards the chest. So whatever feels appropriate, breathing in, breathing out. 2 more breaths, and then we'll roll to fetal position on one side. Good. So you can bring the knees in together. So I like to roll over to one side, bring one leg down, the other leg down, hips, torso, shoulders, head, and then gently press up. So if you're staying, rest, stay, allow your breath to continue to soften. And we'll close out the practice together with the hands either resting on the heart. You can bring the hands to one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart, or both hands together in Anjali Mudra. Good. Shwasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahi mahishaha gobrahmanebhyah shubhamastu nityam loka samastaha sukhino bhavantu. May all be well with this world. May we lead by keeping to the right path. May we honor and heal humanity, that all beings everywhere may be free from pain and suffering. Peace, peace, peace. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Namaste. Thank you so much for coming this morning. I appreciate you.